Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Sarah, and if you're new here, I created a cleaning system. It's called Adaptive Cleaning, and in it we make cleaning schedules and lists for your different energy capacity, high, average, and low capacity. And that way, if you're having a high capacity day, you know exactly what to do. But if you're having a lower average capacity day, you're not still trying to do what you were doing at a high capacity time. I think it works beautifully. It has just changed my life and my household because I used to try to accomplish the same level no matter how I was feeling. If I felt terrible, I was still like, I still have to do this, and this. And when I couldn't, or when I became paralyzed because there was so much to do, and at the capacity I was at, I knew I didn't have like the energy and the physicality to do it or the mental wherewithal. And so I would just end up paralyzed doing nothing. But if you have different capacity lists for how you're feeling, then you don't feel overwhelmed and you don't try to push yourself past your breaking point. So that's what we're going to talk about. And during the whole month of February, I am doing a challenge on my TikTok and my Instagram, and I have been lax about YouTube because it just requires so much time and we've been busy. But what I wanted to do for the month of February, since it's a short month, is I wanted to try to create content that will support you as you make your own systems. I wanted to show you how I do it. I want to show you, how to go about making something that is very realistic for you, as opposed to other systems where you kind of have to take what you're given and make it work. We're not going to do that. I'm going to show you how to evaluate your needs and your household's needs and to make something that really feels good to you and doesn't push you too far. So that's the first thing we're doing in the month of February. We're also going to address mindset stuff because so many people feel deep shame about the way their house is, and we don't have to. Our house has nothing to do with who we are as people and our character. You're not lazy, you're not undisciplined. We're not doing that. So anyway, we're going to be doing the systems creation. We're going to be doing mindset stuff, and I'm going to show you how to work in some deep cleaning things at your different capacity levels so that you're not trying to tackle a huge project when you're at average or low capacity, but how do you still kind of chip away at that project? So we're going to do all of that. I'm very, very excited. In this video, we're going to work on some deep cleaning, and I'll show you how to break that down according to capacity. But first, we're going to talk about the number one thing I think you need to evaluate when you are trying to create a cleaning system, and that is bottlenecks. Bottlenecks are anything that are just preventing your flow. They are things that are causing you to not be as efficient with your time and your space and your energy as you need to be. So for instance, we're in the kitchen all week, and the first thing that I did is I got out my little workbook and I wrote down the bottlenecks that I could see. The first bottleneck I thought about was I have two kids who empty the dishwasher. They take turns emptying it, and then one of my younger kids empties the silverware. But this chore does not get done until nighttime, usually around like 7 or 8 o'clock. And the issue with that is, hang on, I think I heard a child. Okay, yes, it was a child. The issue with the dishwasher getting emptied at nighttime is that even if I do have the energy to wash dishes throughout the day, like after every meal, they're not going to be put in the dishwasher because I'm not doing that chore. I have to delegate. And so I think that if the dishwasher was emptied earlier, then if I was able to wash dishes, a little bit at a time throughout the day and then throw them in the dishwasher, it would prevent clutter from being all over the countertops right there, which clutter stresses me out. And I feel like it magnetically pulls in more clutter. It's a real phenomenon, and so it would keep clutter off of that counter. And then B, I think that I would be more compelled to wash dishes throughout the day and put them in the dishwasher. And that does work better. Like I rarely wash dishes throughout the day, but I think it's because of the dishwasher. So I'm gonna work on my schedule to figure out how to change that. That is something that I can change. The second thing that I immediately thought about is there are always leftovers in the fridge. It clutters the fridge and it prevents me from seeing what there is to eat. Plus, we end up having like a fridge clean out day, which is a monstrosity. It takes all day. It's terrible. I hate it. I am a person, as you know, if you've been hanging out with me for a while, I want to do things a little at a time. I never want a marathon clean, and I don't want to spend all day scrubbing the refrigerator and like all the millions of Tupperwares. But if it's not on my list, I will forget about it. Like I will go weeks without thinking about clearing out the refrigerator. I mean, that's not true. I'll think about it as I open it and see it, but it won't occur to me that there is a time to do it. That's just the way my brain works. I think it's ADHD, but I don't know. The third thing I thought about that is a true bottleneck is that I don't check the pantry and the freezer before I order groceries, and I order groceries twice a week. We have a family of 8, and ordering groceries is very, very stressful to me. I do it online because going into store is absolutely soul-sucking, but I am repeat buying things, or I think it adds to the stress of grocery shopping when I'm not sure what's there. So I just need to, again, carve out time to look. I'm considering making some sort of like inventory, not to like keep in the pantry or on the freezer, but just something to like check off. These are staples that we need. Make sure that these are there. The fourth bottleneck is not one that even is worth mentioning, but some of you may relate, so I'm going to say it, but it doesn't have a solution. We just don't have enough space in the kitchen or anywhere else in this house. When we moved into this home, we were a family of 5, and it seemed like a pretty decent amount of space, even though there is not one storage closet in this whole house. Like every room has a closet, but there's not a linen closet, there's not a hall closet, a coat closet, no closets. So now that we are a family of 8, there is no room anywhere. Like I have to organize and reorganize constantly because anything that comes into our home kind of creates a dilemma. So that's something that we can't do anything about. But there are a lot of you who have bottlenecks that you can't do anything about. We can't worry about that. We can only do what we have control over, and that's the ticket. So I am going to go check in on my kids, but we'll be back in just a minute for some deep cleaning, and we're going to talk about something mindset related. So thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for being here. Oh, if you want my February calendar to kind of see what we're going to be doing and to follow along, it is free on my website. They're digital calendars, but I made one of them plain. So if you want to print it out, it won't waste all of your ink. I also have like worksheets that will go along with this process this month, and systems cleaning lists so that you can have those for the future. But you don't have to have them. I will tell you what we're doing as we're going along. So it's just up to you. But those are on my website, which I'll link in the description. I haven't done YouTube in a long time. This is way too much time for me to speak. I've been doing like 1-minute videos on TikTok. Okay, I will see you in a little bit. Do you need to feel shamed if you have a lot of clutter everywhere? No, you don't. This is not an indication that you are a slob of a human being. You need some tools. So what can you do right now if you don't have the capacity to get a whole bunch done? Well, you can take a deep breath. That's the first thing. The surest way to make yourself feel overwhelmed to do anything is catastrophize the situation or feel ashamed of it. This is where you are. And if you want to make progress, number 2, start with a small area. I chose this one counter and I spent 15 minutes on it. It wasn't perfect, but that's not my objective anymore. And number 3, decide whether you want to put all the clutter in that area into one pile to be sorted later, or 2 piles, stuff that has a home and stuff that would require strategy to deal with. You can use a container for the piles or shove into a corner like I did here. Let's talk about dishes. Many times we have a goal stuck in our heads that our kitchen should be sparkling clean all the time. If we never once achieve that goal, though, we feel like we're doing something wrong. How about changing the goal when we're not at high capacity? If the goal is logistical, to have clean dishes to eat off of and keep food put away to prevent bugs from hanging out, what does that look like? To create a system that works at your capacity, you just have to think about what's realistic for you and how to be efficient about it. A system will never work if you plan for the ideal but are not feeling ideal. For instance, at low capacity, I do the dishes at night. Do you need to do them in the morning when you have more energy? Would using paper plates and disposable counter wipes help you get the kitchen clean of food mess while protecting your limited time and energy? What about soaking silverware in a soapy bowl until the crusties come off? At average capacity, how can you best get the dishes done while not pushing yourself to the point of not being able to handle other things? Are there shortcuts for you? Can you fill part of your sink with soap and water in the mornings and put dishes into soak so it's easier to clean later? Can you use foil or parchment on pans so they don't have to be washed? At high capacity, you also want to be efficient with your time, so implement any time savers you can. But the major key to creating systems at high capacity is to utilize your energy to make other tasks less difficult. For example, when you're working on the dishes, maybe you can pull old leftovers out of the fridge one day, wipe down 2 shelves on another day, and reorganize the flow of the fridge on another day. If you had a step or two every day to your dishes routine, you could never have to deep clean the refrigerator again. On to organization. So in the kitchen, the thing that I have to realize is I'm going to be reorganizing all the time. I just have limited space. So instead of thinking I'll find a perfect fix and stressing about it, I just acknowledge I have to work on this pretty frequently. And that's okay. So it takes a lot of the pressure off. And the other thing that I do that's really good is I habit stack. So if I'm doing something else in the kitchen, like if I'm waiting for water to boil for pasta or something, I'll pull out leftovers that are no good anymore out of the fridge and wash the Tupperwares. So in that way, I'm kind of organizing a little bit at a time. If I see things while I'm already in the kitchen that need to be dealt with, I just try to do that while I'm there instead of just standing around. And that has helped me a ton. As for deep cleaning, this is something I used to never do when I was at low capacity because I just thought this is out of my reach. And still, when I'm at low capacity, I do almost nothing with deep cleaning if I do anything. But if I feel on the cusp of average capacity, I try to break it down into tiny steps. For instance, I work to deep clean the oven, which is my least favorite thing, and it took me a week. I did a little bit at a time. I did the knobs, and then I wiped the top, and then I took out the racks and soaked them, and then I cleaned them, and I left one bottom rack in there so that I could still be cooking throughout the week. But it was just a way of making sure that I could get the whole thing done, but not overdo it. Because if you do have chronic conditions, you know that it is super easy to push yourself too hard and too far and not be able to do anything for days after. And that is the surest way to discourage yourself from doing projects like this that do need to get done, but they're not an absolute priority. So if you can do anything, just a step or two at a time, whatever you feel comfortable with, it actually really does pay off and work. I lastly want to talk about mindset and self-talk because you can have all of the strategies in the entire world, but I don't think you're going to be comfortable even if your house is clean. You will always be second guessing yourself and thinking that somehow your worth is tied up in what you can produce. It's not. And I have to remind you that there are people who cannot do anything physically, but they are every bit as worthy as you and me. And we, no matter if we are depressed or if we are in too much pain to get off the couch, it does not mean that we are a less wonderful person. It just means that logistically, things are harder for us. And that sucks, but we don't need to fix something fundamental about ourselves. We need more grace for ourselves and more tools. And I know if you've been working on changing your self-talk for a long time, it is hard work. It feels very terrible because you first have to tune into the fact that this is the way you talk to yourself all the time, and that's rough. but you so thoroughly believe it because you've been saying the story for so long. And you cannot all of a sudden just flip to like, from I hate everything about myself and why am I so stupid? Why do I make so many mistakes? To I'm a great person who's wonderful and worthy. It's very, very difficult to make that jump. And I wouldn't suggest it, honestly. It did not work for me. I tried, trust me. What I did that worked, and I read it somewhere, I can't remember where, but I just started to say to myself, you're doing the best you can with the tools and support that you have. That's it. Because I could acknowledge that I did not have the tools to do more than I was doing. I did not have enough support to find those tools in many situations. It was a slow journey for me, and it might be for you too, but I am here to support you, and there's a big community of us who are.